This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Saturday Morning Mysteries, where we are your hosts. I'm Grace.
And I'm Alexis.
And we are on our second episode of our Wild Thornberrys arc, following this globe-trotting and adventurous, sometimes reckless family mainly reckless family around the world, on many shenanigans, near-death experiences, and more. And this week, Alexis will be telling us about something that they got up to. I don't know what, but we're about to learn. So take her away, bird.
As per usual with Thornberrys, the shenanigans and the danger continue into the extreme danger into the second episode of season 1.
Oh, nice.
I'm not even going to say the name of it because
it'll give it away.
It may give too much away.
Okay.
But we'll just start out by saying that in this episode, the Thornberrys are just outside of the city of Manaus, Brazil, and they were filming a segment for their nature show on Amazonian wildlife, flora, and fauna. And so, like your last episode, we're going to tangent off quite a bit because the writers of the show were very good and did their research into real life places and the animals and the wildlife around them. So Manaus is actually a city in Brazil. It's the capital and largest city of the Brazilian state of Amazonas. And it's also the largest city in northern Brazil and the 7th largest city in Brazil overall, which says a lot because that's a pretty populated country.
Yes.
And it's also located near the center of the Amazon rainforest. And so as such, it has close proximity to a lot of wildlife preserves and research centers in the Amazon rainforest, and actually is a common spot where researchers will go to carry out a lot of their research on the rainforest.
So it's the home base for researchers as they
in a lot of ways. Yeah, exactly. Cool. And so people will spend months there at a time. They'll start in Manaus maybe, or fly into, or start there and then go into their research center in the rainforest because they are so close. And also, interestingly, it's one of 2 Brazilian cities in the rainforest that has a population over 1 million people. So it's a big city. Yeah. And again, literally right outside of the rainforest. The city is super dense and, it's urban and very populated. It's not like the city itself is very green, but if you're looking at a sky view of it, you see the rainforest right over yonder because it's right there. So that'll kind of be important later on in the episode. I see. Again, fun facts that the writers actually
painted research. A picture.
Exactly. So the Thornberrys, they're out on a research excursion right outside of this city. While the parents are out filming stuff, Darwin and Eliza are back at camp playing rock, paper, scissors to determine how they're going to spend their afternoon. I guess the parents just let them kind of roam on their own throughout the Amazon rainforest.
Always do. And of all places, everything can kill you in the Amazon rainforest.
Yes. People, animals, plants, bugs, insects, water, everything there can and will kill you.
Yes.
So
it wants to kill you, in fact.
It wants to. It's its mission. That's how it's still so pristine in so many places to this day.
The blood of humans.
Keeping people out.
It's very rich soil.
I was going to say, it makes the soil rich. The fertilizer. Natural fertilizer. So anyway, Eliza wins this game of rock, paper, scissors. And so she gets to determine how her and Darwin spend their afternoon. And of course, she's like, all right, well, let's hike through the forest and see what we find. And they do come across a very large, waterfall type of thing by a swimming hole. And Eliza's like, oh, perfect. Let's just cliff dive or tombstone off of this thing and swim in the water below, which, kind of fun, but also super dangerous without any alligators or crocodile. I guess that's gators. I don't know. Anything that wants to kill you. Snakes, anything and everything. So ever the adventurer, Eliza, she's climbing up to the top of this waterfall or this cliff, and she's jumping on and swimming, I think fully clothed. Darwin, the monkey, on the other hand, He's much more scared of such an act. Obviously, he's like, I'm done with the wildlife. I don't want this anymore. Let me just sit here on shore nearby and watch you.
Mm-hmm.
And so while Darwin is walking along the riverbank or whatever, the shore, he steps on a fairly large and very valuable looking crystal.
Oh.
But he, being a monkey, I guess, doesn't really realize that it's a crystal, and he kind of just thinks it's a rock, but he's like looking at it and he's amazed by how beautiful it is, and picks it up and calls over Eliza to take a look at it too. But she's too busy having fun, cliff diving and swimming to pay any attention to Darwin. And she just kind of brushes it off like, oh, cool, you found a rock. Nice. Whatever, cool.
She's
climbs
like, I've
back
seen
up.
plenty of blood diamonds. What's another
I'm
one?
literally climbing a rock right now. I don't care. Because again, Darwin only says like, hey, look at this rock I found. He's not like saying this beautiful crystal. Yes, like cool, awesome. Look at this massive rock I found.
Great. I found a bigger one.
Yeah. And it's more fun than yours.
Stupid rock.
So yeah, so like she doesn't even stop to look at it because she's just like, yeah, rocks are everywhere. Whatever, Darwin. And so at one point, Eliza, she jumps back into the water from this cliff, and it creates this large splash of water that just hits Darwin, and he's unable to like hold on to the crystal. It like washes right out of his hand and into the river. And he is pretty upset at this point. Like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, you just made me lose that. You made me drop this rock. And Eliza's like, oh, it's cool, dude. Just like come in for a swim. And Eliza's like, why don't you want to swim? Like, all you're doing is looking for this rock. This is way more fun. Again, not realizing it's this beautiful crystal. And she's like, for a chimpanzee, Darwin, you really have no sense of adventure. And Darwin is like, he is offended by this, like in his high posh British accent. Like, how dare you?
I like British, Alexis. That's great.
I go from
like
the
posh.
Bayou to British.
She does it all.
Do it all. I need to find an agent. No, but Darwin, he's like offended, saying that when he lived in the Congo, literally every day of his life was an adventure, which alludes to why he is the way he is now. He's like, I've had enough of that. I really just want to settle down and like
settle down.
I want to live in a nice house. I don't want this jungle, this wildlife anymore. But he's also saying, yeah, I mean, I've lived this life, okay? I can live it again if I want to. I just choose not to.
Okay.
So Eliza, she scoffs, kind of like brushing it off, like, please, you're less like an animal than any other animal I've ever met. You've been around people for way too long, and so you've just, like, quite frankly, lost your animal instincts.
Damn.
And Darwin again, a little bit of a fight between these two here.
Yeah.
So Darwin, he defends himself again, saying, he is a wild animal. He's fearless. He's untamed. He can handle this jungle, this wilderness, and that he doesn't need Eliza anymore. And so he pretty much just like, he's heard enough, and he turns around and makes his way back through the forest on his own, like ticked off with Eliza, and leaves her to just continue to cliff jump and swim all by herself. And so Eliza, right before Darwin, gets out of sight, she's like, oh, come on, like, don't do this. Like, you're just going to go back to the camp anyway, where it's nice and warm. And he yells back at her like, no, I'm not going back to your human camp. I'm going deeper into the jungle, my natural habitat, so that I can do chimpanzee things, which, again, rainforest, chimpanzee, everyone wants to kill you there, Darwin. Almost everything wants to kill you.
Bad
luck.
idea.
And then a last minute thing, he like rips off his clothes and just like throws them to the side, being super over dramatic, like back in nature. All right.
I don't need your human things.
Your things, your nice shirts, your cotton and wool clothes, and
these nice
like already shivering,
like picking them back up.
Runs away. So Darwin, he makes his way deep into the forest, and Eliza, she decides to just keep swimming for a little bit longer. But eventually she gets bored of being alone, so she makes her way back to camp and grabs Donnie so that she can have some company at the swimming hole. And Donnie, she takes him back there, and he's like super happy. Obviously, like you explained last week, he's practically a monkey as well. He's like climbing up and down this cliff all on his own, jumping in and out. Eliza, though, she's a little miffed because the fun in this is that she can control someone else to do what she wants to do. But Donnie is like, no, like I'll do this on my own. So he's not waiting for her to jump in. Yeah, like
got it.
She can't control Donnie like she can Darwin. So it's just cliff diving just isn't the same with Donnie.
She's not the center of it.
Exactly.
Being the boss.
Got it. She's still kind of having fun, but she's like getting annoyed that Donnie is
he
doesn't need her. Exactly. Yeah. So eventually, after what seems like hours of jumping off this same cliff just over and over and swimming in the swimming hole, Eliza convinces Donnie that they should go back to camp so that they can get some food because it's getting close to dinner time. But as they're leaving, she stumbles upon the crystal, now realizing it's a crystal that Darwin found. And she's like, oh my gosh, this was way better than he described it. Like, I think Darwin really did find something cool here. And so we then see Darwin, scene shifts to Darwin. And he's making his way down that same riverbank. He's really engaging with nature. He's really connecting with his true chimpanzee self. He's like drinking water directly from the source. He's strutting around, smiling, like deep breaths, taking in that beautiful rainforest air. He's engaging with the wildlife, aka he gets his paw absolutely wrecked by a snapping turtle in the river.
I mean, it is realistic, I guess.
Exactly. But he's making his way
downtown.
And then back at camp, though, Nigel and Marianne, here come the parents. They are like debriefing and tending wounds.
Oh, God.
From their recent shoot in the rainforest. Nigel somehow managed to mess up his left eye. And so he walks back to camp and he's like covering his eye while Marianne's like, you just sit down, I'll go get some ice. I think he just like ran into the camera or something. It's thankfully
like a bug bite or some shit.
It's like not the way that people tend to get injured in the rainforest. Somehow Nigel, he's like leaned into the camera and Marianne like, dude, get back. And it like hit him right in the eye. But anyway, so he's like holding his eye and he keeps like testing his vision, like moving his hand and stuff. Like, am I blind? Can I see? But at one point when he takes his hand down, he sees behind some trees at their campsite a tribal person, an indigenous tribal member, kind of like hiding behind the trees, looking at him behind the campsite. And as soon as he locks eyes with this tribal member, the dude just like runs off into the forest. This is when I pack up the convy and head back to the mainland.
Yes, this is every horror movie begins like this. This is every sign of you're on someone else's land. This is every sign of I don't want you here. This is I wouldn't have.
You need to go.
That if there's one person watching me, there could be hundreds.
Yes.
This is they ran away. Doesn't make me feel good that they're not about to go get more people who will be silent in the night.
No.
There was no sign of friendliness that happened right there.
No, there's not. And put a pin in that for the horrors of this episode.
Okay. So, be like, sorry, we out, and then leave.
We out. We mean no harm whatsoever.
Right. I get it.
Just leaving. Look at how clean we left everything.
Right. I'm picking up my trash and I'm gonna book it out of here.
I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, though, unfortunately, Nigel, who is, as you described last week, he's very enthusiastic about everything that's going on in nature. So instead of packing up the convy and gathering his children and his family, he quickly calls Marianne back and tells her that they must follow the man's tracks to capture footage of what he suspects may be a reclusive tribe in the middle of the Amazon rainforest.
Okay.
So...
Okay.
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 The
Okay.
two,
It was 1998.
the world was a little different. Not
It's
really,
different.
at least in terms of these indigenous tribes, because they are
Yeah.
untouched by society. So they've been the same since the
Yes.
beginning.
I think there's maybe like some loose ethics now in place that's like, hey, don't go disturb these tribes. Like, we want to try and leave them untouched. Great. Okay. Nigel said, I live by my own ethics. Got to get that footy.
It's fun. Exactly. It's for the footage for our show. The foundation is going to love this.
Nat Geo, BBC.
Yes.
Suck it, David Attenborough.
Yeah.
That's Nigel's greatest nemesis.
Nigel taught David Attenborough everything he knows.
Exactly. Okay.
So,
interesting. Okay.
So Marianne and Nigel, they take off with the camera in hand, pushing past like all these large bushes and through trees, where indeed they find this isolated tribe, right? They see like all of these huts, or I guess I think oca is like the type of Brazilian indigenous housing, because apparently huts have different names depending on where in the country they're made.
Cool.
So they see all of these, and they see some people walking around, and they see the man that Nigel earlier saw kind of running through the tribe or the village as well. And so Marianne, she tries to get in closer, but Nigel, he is a little wiser than we recently said. He does stop Marianne, like, well, hold on. No, we have to be super careful here. We know nothing about these people, nothing about the boy we saw. We don't want to get in trouble. And we also don't want to interrupt their way of life. So he's very, he's pretty aware that introducing like a camera and the modern clothing that they're wearing into their society could like totally throw everything off of balance for them, and or they could get killed.
Yes. So there's endless options. Like you said, everything in the rainforest wants to kill you.
Wants to kill you. Everything. The rainforest does not discriminate.
Yeah, exactly.
So, just as Nigel is explaining this to Marianne, he also happens to trip over a rock. Not a crystal, a rock, but actually upon closer inspection, they look at it and they realize that the rock has been carved into some sort of tool that probably was being used by the tribal members.
Cool.
And so Marianne gets really excited, saying like, wait a minute, they're using these primitive tools. This could be similar to the ancient Tusade tribe that was discovered in the Philippines. And she explains that this Filipino tribe lived so deep in the jungle that they never had contact with anyone, and they had a culture completely unspoiled by civilization. And so when she mentioned this, I hit pause and was like, Wikipedia.
I just choked from excitement. I just gasped because I knew you were about to tell me about it.
Wikipedia, tell me more. Rabbit hole here. Yeah, rabbit hole that then turns into just like 2 paragraphs. So the Tusade are indeed a Philippine indigenous tribe. Cool. And they attracted widespread attention in 1971 when a journalist of the Associated Press's like Manila Bureau or whatever, Manila in the Philippines, reported on their discovery and found like apparent Stone Age technology and found this tribe in complete isolation from the rest of Philippine society. However, in the 1980s, this may not take the turn that you think it's going to take.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A number of journalists and anthropologists and researchers, including a Swiss man named Oswald Eiten, began to express doubts on the legitimacy of the tribe's isolation and considered the entire discovery as part of this elaborate hoax. And so,
okay, what?
There's a lot going on. So I watched like 2 kind of short documentaries on this. Yes. They were each only like 30 minutes, thankfully. One was from Oswald Eiten himself, and the other one was like the NBC report where they like went in and like sent a journalist to like interview these people and just kind of like observe them. I'm not going to get into the details because again, there were 2 like 30-minute documentaries about this, and we don't have that much time.
Nope.
And I'm not an anthropologist or a historian or a linguist or
what?
I know, shocker.
God.
So, but essentially, from both of these videos that I watched and from what I read, it seems like both sides do have good arguments. Like some linguists have good arguments as to how perhaps the Tusade tribe was unspoiled by Philippine civilization and did kind of have a dialect and whatnot of their own. But Oswald Eiton actually put forth a lot of good information on how it seemed very unrealistic for a tribe to survive this way without ever being noticed or, you know, discovered in any way whatsoever, based on like their lack of understanding of hunting and how there were so few of them. It's like, well, how look, like I said, I'm not going to get into it. There's a lot of like also weird political circumstances.
Oh, okay.
Because like there was a dictatorship going on in the Philippines at the time, and like civil war and just all this stuff.
Oh, God.
And so they thought that it was kind of like a propaganda play to like preserve cultural heritage. And there's a lot of moving parts, but just know that the Tusade are real people. Perhaps not actually an unspoiled tribe, you know, unspoiled from civilization, but there it is a small community of indigenous people in the Philippines.
Got it.
Also, to paint some context for stuff that happens later on in this episode. So very interesting stuff. Again, on YouTube, if you just like search Tusade with like Oswald Eiton or just Tusade on its own, you'll find all sorts of different like small or brief documentaries explaining them. Super interesting.
Cool. I'm so
not the time or place though. Again,
but
we're
my
not
mind's
professionals.
like, but it is.
Yeah, but it is. But also, I don't want to offend any Filipino people listening if they're like, "Excuse me, my great grandmother is Tusade. How dare you tell me?"
Right?
And I'm like, fake. Oh, they're not even real. Yeah. So,
yep.
Anyway, believing that they've made an equally as important discovery, Marianne eagerly moves in to like begin filming the tribe. But again, Nigel, he's like, no, stop. I know this is exciting, but we really can't disturb them. So let's go back to camp and like try to come up with a plan of action to see how we can get any of this footage to the foundation. So they go back, and because ultimately Marianne's like, yeah, okay, you're right. I kind of don't want to die here or fuck up the culture and the heritage
this
of
entire
these
society.
Exactly, that would not be good. So they go back and go to the camp, and they're like talking with Debbie about what they found out there. Debbie is totally uninterested, obviously, like, oh, cool, a Stone Age tribe, whatever. And Marianne's like, Nigel, like, we have to think of something that we can do to get closer to them. And Nigel is like, I've got it. Let's just get naked, just take off all of our clothes, and don't take your camera. Instead, we'll, you know, carve our impressions of the tribe in stone. Which, like, then what? Like, you send the stone to the foundation?
Or you throw the stone and start a war?
Like, they're not going to know what you're doing.
Right.
What?
Also, like, were these people naked? They're going to be like, why the fuck are you naked?
They have like loincloths on, but
still
like,
not naked.
Yeah, exactly. He's not, it's not necessarily to assimilate with them. He thinks that they're just going to be like shocked by like the
modern dress.
Fabulous, like modern adventure clothing. He like
look at all my
over exaggerates describing them. Yeah. He's like, they'll have no idea what to think about my luxurious clothing or something like that. And so literally, like, he's like taking off his clothes as he's telling Marianne this. He's like, yeah, let's just like get naked and like carve our impressions in stone.
Damn, Nigel's freaky.
And then, strip poker in the rainforest with this indigenous tribe.
Oh my God.
And so Marianne stops and they're like, okay, hold on. Can't we just like hide behind the bushes we were behind earlier? Like, they didn't see us then. Like, we don't have to interview them. We can also, just like, get some footage.
Let them come back to you. They already found you.
Yeah, true. Which is terrifying too, though, because like you said before, they could send for more people to go back,
Yeah, at
more
any
tribal
point.
people to go back to that campsite whenever they want, because now
Yep.
they know exactly where you are.
Yep.
So anyway, though, Marianne, though, she's like, let's just film from behind the bushes. We'll stay quiet. We'll just get footage. We won't actually like interview them or go on to their, go into their village.
Mm.
And so Nigel's like, oh, okay, actually that makes sense. Which is like, y'all didn't even have to come back to camp. You could have just stayed there and like gotten the footage in the first place.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And then came back. Yeah. Now you're gonna make more of a
Yes.
disturbance.
Pretty much. But at this point, it's too late in the day for them to traverse back through the rainforest.
Mm.
So instead, they decide to just resume their excursion in the morning, and they'll just
Right.
start getting dinner ready and getting the girls and the family all back together for the night.
Okay.
So Eliza and Donnie, they return to camp just as Marianne is setting the table. And Eliza looks just totally exhausted from her afternoon out with Donnie, trying to wrangle this monkey child in and just swimming and jumping off these cliffs all day. And Eliza asks her mom if she's seen Darwin, like if he's returned back to camp. And Marianne is like, no, we haven't seen him here actually, but we thought he was with you and Donnie. And Eliza's like, oh yeah, he was. Like, yeah, but like he on his own decided to go off into the forest, like not admitting that she kind of goaded him.
Peer pressured him, yeah.
But yeah, exactly.
Becoming a monkey again.
Yeah, right. And so she's like, I really thought that he would have been back by now, though. And so Nigel, he sounds a little panicked, like, wait, is Darwin lost? And Marianne's like, it's okay, everyone. Like, he's fine. He's fine. As soon as he smells dinner, he's probably going to come back to camp. He can't be too far, which checks out for Darwin. He's always obsessed with food, human food in particular.
Yep.
But let me also pause here and say, what might the Thornberrys be enjoying for dinner on this wonderful night in the rainforest, you might ask? Well, none other than a fresh batch of capybara burgers.
Oh no! Wait, do people actually eat them?
So,
did you look it up?
And I did more research on this than the Tasane.
You are a great chef. You had to know.
I was like, let me talk about this. I've got like 4 paragraphs here, so stick with me.
I don't want to offend anyone by being like, oh my God,
exactly.
What?
At first, I was super off put by this and thought it was messed up. I still think it's kind of messed up. Whatever. I'm not going to yuck anyone else's yum. But I was like, what the fuck? That cannot be okay, eating a capybara burger in the rainforest. As Nigel, meanwhile, points by, like, oh, look, there goes a capybara right there. Like, runs
there
by
goes
him.
Breakfast tomorrow. Some capybara bacon.
Yum. Which actually, well.
Okay, keep going.
So I did some research and I learned that capybara meat is actually very common and even considered a delicacy in a lot of parts of South America.
Okay.
Particularly, though, in Venezuela. I think like the only country in South America that really doesn't fuck with it is Chile. So it is also, and this is super topical, it is a popular meat source during Lent and Holy Week, which literally today is the day before Easter as we're recording this. As we're recording this. Yes, not as it's released. So apparently, way back when, the Catholic Church had banned borrowing and eating this type of meat during Lent for centuries. So it's been popular in South America for hundreds of years. But Venezuelan clergymen, they petitioned for the church to reconsider because of its popularity and because of the cultural ties to hunting capybara in the area. And so, as per usual, the church caved to political pressure, and they classified capybara as a type of fish, so that it was then acceptable to eat during Lent. For those who are not Christian or Catholic, you're not supposed to eat red meat during at least on Fridays. It may have been like throughout all of Lent way back when, but then again, political pressure forced them to cave it back to just on Fridays. You're not supposed to eat meat. You're supposed to only eat fish or no meat at all. And so, yes, now that capybara had been reclassified as a type of fish, it was okay to eat in South America. And I guess they
Wow.
did this because they're like, well, they live by the water.
I think they do
They
swim.
They do, yeah, because it's like a combination of it's like a pig and a beaver.
Yes, I was
Like a
gonna say, like
combination of, it's
they're,
like a furry pig.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're for big.
And
Also, oh,
yeah.
keep going.
No, go for it. Because I
I
got
was
more,
just
so just get it out now. Yeah.
no,
I
I was
may
just
answer
gonna
it later, but
no, it's not a question. It's more of a like, I rescind my initial like, oh my God, what of eating them because I think it's like because we don't have them in the US, I just automatically
exactly.
assume that it's like a rare, cool animal, but like
Yes,
it's probably just like a rodent there or
it
like
is.
as
Yeah.
common as deer.
Yeah.
So it's
Or
like,
even like beavers, like beavers here,
yeah,
which in some places in America are everywhere,
right.
so, or very
Exactly.
common. Yeah.
So I
And
do rescind it. They are adorable. If I was in South America, I would try it. I would try a capybara burger.
put a pin in that.
Oh no.
Maybe, but yeah. And I forget if I put this in here. I'm like skimming real quick. I don't know if I did. I learned a lot about capybaras to write this. So
I'm so excited.
their closest relative is actually a gerbil. So it would be kind of eating like a
You
giant gerbil
would
burger.
research.
Apparently, I'm obsessed with gerbils
It
now.
all comes
Thank you,
back.
Courage is Cowardly Dog to
every
Doc Gerbil.
every arc it comes back to the gerbil for you. Powerpuff Girls, it did.
It did. Here
It's
we are
your first
again.
episode of this arc. It has.
If I find a gerbil connection, I am going to
Make it.
lean into it. I'm going to
Our
make that
resident
link.
gerbil expert.
Gerbilologist. You can call me. So anyway, after the Catholic Church allowed for capybaras to be eaten during Lent again, hunting of the creatures, it spiked back up and it became so widespread that at one point, I don't know what year, maybe like late 1800s, early 1900s, there was a threat actually of wiping out their existence in some areas, particularly classic humans.
Yep.
Particularly in Venezuela, until the Venezuelan government stepped in to start regulating the hunting and the trade of the creatures and establish a sort of farming system for the animals.
Cool.
And so today, only about 20% of the population of capybaras, again, at least in Venezuela, is legally allowed to be killed each year for food. Cool. And most of this is done around Lent. But of course, which unfortunately, as of our recording this, it means that a whole bunch of capybaras just die.
Just dying right now. Someone is slow roasting one for Easter tomorrow.
As we speak. Someone down in Venezuela is enjoying their capybara roast.
Oh man, right as Nigel takes a big juicy bite.
Yum. But anyway, so even though the Venezuelan government and probably others in South America have regulated this and tried to put some protections in place, it still doesn't stop the illegal poaching and killing of the animals for the sale of their meat on the black market.
Oh man.
Which apparently is worth twice the amount of beef on the black market.
Oh shit.
So it can be kind of lucrative for like some rural or, indigenous people who are just like farming or like retailing out near the jungle. So coming back to a point you made earlier, to be fair, capybaras.
It's such an emotional journey. I don't know how I feel anymore. I'm neutral. So,
I still am pro capybara here. I don't know if I would try it, but anyway, to be fair, they're not endangered. But their population is kind of on the decline in some areas due to the indigenous hunting traditions. But again, they're of like the least concern in terms of endangerment. And they are quite adorable,
they're
right?
So cute.
Like they are, although their Latin scientific name, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce, but it directly translates, kind of like I alluded to earlier, to water pig.
I do want to just boop their snoot real bad.
I know, they're so cute. And they like do the little like the gerbil type of sniffing and stuff, just like their little nose kind of like, they're so adorable. But apparently they taste like a combo of salty pork and fish. So the Latin translation of water pig is a pro. It would appear. And the way that people prepare them now, apparently, again, coming back to something you said before, is by like drying the hide often. They either shred it and put it into casseroles, or they dry it and they make it into like a jerky, so kind of like bacon almost.
Wow, Nigel
But
was
I think
serious.
he was serious. But also, if it's like shredded, it's kind of hard to make burgers out of a shredded sort of meat. Like you've got to be able to
Yeah.
grind that stuff up. So I'm also really wondering how these burgers would taste and what the texture and consistency of them would be.
And
Like
did
shredded
Nigel just
capybara meat.
kill
Did
this
they?
capybara
Thank you.
himself?
That is one of my next lines here. I was like, so one, what would it take to grind down their meat into a patty? That sounds tough.
Yeah.
2, is it Lent in this episode? Are they like allowed to even be eating these right now? 3, Thornberrys actually buy the capybara meat on the black market or from some random dealer deep in the jungle? Or 4, did they actually just like tackle a bunch of capybaras and like kill them themselves? And like
the fact that Nigel was like, look, there goes one. I'm going with that last option.
Yeah, look, there goes one. Gets up and like tackles it. Like
exactly, just like wrestling it. Donnie, go.
Get it. Marianne, hand me my machete.
Wow. That was such an emotional roller coaster of ethics and tradition and conservation. And that was a lot.
Yeah. And again, a lot of the stuff I found was like in Venezuela, they're in Brazil in this episode, but like we can probably assume that there are some similarities
population wise,
customs. Yeah, right. So,
but man,
it's sad. I think at the end of the day, I'm still pro team capybara. I guess, look, if I was down there, I would maybe try it, not to offend, the culture and everything. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But it's not like I would be getting capybara burgers shipped back up to the States.
I think
them here for dinner.
I think you should probably never be getting it up here because that's most likely probably black market-esque. I do think if you're in the cultural scenario in country and that it's ethically hunted, aka it's not on the black market situation, then I'm interested. Otherwise, not so much.
Not so much. But yeah, I can't imagine how a salty pork fish burger would taste.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't
anyway,
sound great.
So yeah, I was happy to do that sort of research, but I was like, the Tusade, this is a little too complex. But the capybara, let me see what I can find.
Debate.
Yeah,
You're getting like tasting notes.
This one's a little too salty. Like watching videos of people prepare them.
Yeah,
I actually did not do that, but actually, I might do that after this.
There.
Anyway,
wow,
so
incredible.
Like our initial reaction to them eating capybara burgers, Debbie is also grossed out.
Oh, interesting.
When Nigel tells her that, like, essentially a capybara is like a water rat.
They do kind of look like rats, yeah.
They do. Yeah. And so Debbie pretty much like throws up the one bite of burger that she takes. And it's actually very funny. She like very quietly just pushes herself back from the table, stands up without a word, and just walks away like in silence.
At least she's like respectful to not puke at the table.
Exactly. And she's not just like, ew, what the fuck? That's messed up. She just,
but it is funnier that she just like,
no, like not a word. Yes. On my way.
Yeah.
And so Nigel and Marianne, meanwhile, as they're enjoying this delicacy of a dinner, they tell Eliza, they're like reassuring her that Darwin is going to be fine in the jungle overnight because chimpanzees, they know a lot of ways to survive. And again, he's got some natural instincts here. Although, also hilariously, I fucking love Nigel. Maybe you're right. If your wedding is a Halloween party, I maybe would dress up as Nigel because he's so freaking funny. Because at first, when Eliza asks if they think Darwin will be fine until the morning, Nigel's just like, oh, of course not. He'll probably be eaten before then. And Marianne like hits him and he's like, oh, I mean, no, he's a chimpanzee, like he'll be good, he'll be fine.
Like the perfect prey for jaguars, especially when he's not in a pack of or like family of chimpanzees. He's literally all alone
on his own.
Pythons, no problem. I mean,
what? Yeah, no, he'll be fine. We'll go fetch him in the morning we'll fetch his remains.
I mean, him.
Him. But Meanwhile, as the sun is setting and the rainforest is getting darker, we then see Darwin. He's still out in the wild, kind of like nervously taking in all of the sounds of the rainforest around him, right? Like you hear chirping insects and bugs flying around him. You hear large growling cats. And most terrifyingly of all, you hear a rumbling tummy, aka Darwin's
He's
tummy.
gonna die.
He's hungry. He's going to die from starvation.
Yeah, he's
and
gonna
then
lay down
something will
wherever
eat
he
his
is.
corpse.
Yeah.
He's not going to die by getting attacked. Yeah. So he attempts to fend for himself by eating a bunch of like ants and bugs off of a stick from a nearby log. But his sophisticated palate is not pleased. And so he like spits the bugs out immediately and like freaks out even more. So he figures, though, hearing all of these growling like cats and large animals around him, that it's time to act more like a chimpanzee. And so he decides to build a nest like high up in the trees to avoid being eaten by any of these creatures that are prowling below. Right. And, you know, he's laying there. He's like super proud of himself in his little nest type of hammock thing, looking up at the night sky and all the stars in the sky, which actually would be beautiful if the rainforest wasn't constantly trying to kill you.
Yep.
And he then does actually start to doze off to get some sleep. But only a few minutes later, he starts hearing like cracking and stuff in his nest, because apparently he has in fact lived around people a little bit too long and his nest making skills are not up to par. Oh, no. And so it just totally comes apart, sending him down to the ground on his ass, which would really hurt because these trees are very tall.
Big. Yeah.
Your back's broken and now a jaguar is going to come out of it.
Definitely going to be eaten.
Kill you.
You are even easier prey than you already were.
Yes. He's like, this just is not my night. This is not my night. God, where is the calm, V?
The rainforest wants to kill you.
Wants to kill you. That's the theme of this episode. Actively trying to kill you. And so as he's like collecting himself back on the ground underneath this tree, he hears even more growling coming from behind him and from within him. His stomach is growling even more now. And then to make an already terrifying situation worse, it starts pouring rain, thunder, and lightning and everything. And so he's running through the forest to seek shelter, and he finds this little like tree-covered canopy where he can like hide for a second, but it's very dark in there. And so once a lightning bolt strikes nearby, it like lights it up, and he just sees that like there are a couple of jaguars straight up chilling under there with them.
Oh my God, they're like, wow, I know you ordered a Grubhub. Who delivered? Chomp.
Great service. I hate going out to pick up food in the rain.
Did you leave a tip? Okay, great.
Cool. Eat you. Darwin, he books it out of there though, and eventually finds himself upon the village of the Stone Age tribe that Marianne and Nigel discovered earlier that day.
Okay. His
luck may be looking up. Maybe. So
they could also think he's food. Go on.
This is true. Could have been in that.
Oh no, I don't want to.
He sneaks his way into the village and he takes a peek into one of the okas. Like they've got a window built into it. And he looks in and sees that there's a large like chicken or some sort of bird that's being roasted over a fire in there.
Oh, and his little tummy's grumbling.
And it is. And you know, Darwin, he's like, well, there's shelter. It's warm. It's food. No one's around. Looks like it's mine.
Oh God.
So he like climbs in through this window. And he starts just like chowing down on this chicken, and he gets all warm and cozy by the fire before lying down and gently falling asleep. The next morning, Eliza, back at camp, wakes up very early, and she's immediately calling for Darwin, hoping that he returned to the camp or that he's at least somewhere nearby. And so she grabs Donnie to go out on an excursion to try to find him or track him down. And Donnie notices Darwin's paw prints. So they start to follow a trail of them and see that they lead right to the tribal village. So now Donnie and Eliza also sneak into this village footage.
Oh no.
Right up to the Oka where his footprints lead, or his paw prints lead to. And they're like peeking their head through that window, seeing where he is, if he's in there. And they look in and they literally see Darwin like being fanned down and being fed by this group of tribal members, like tending to his hand and feet, literally like feeding him like grapes. It's like very hedonistic. As
I did not see this coming. I thought you were going to say he was on the pit being roasted.
And so Eliza sees this and she's like, he doesn't even need us anymore, whatever. So she still has the crystal that he found the day before, and she like takes it out of her pocket and like chucks it in through the window, and it like lands on Darwin's head.
Eliza, you were being uncivilized.
You are. Come on. Although, hey, this could be valuable for the tribe. Although I'm sure they have many others, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
So at this point, Darwin, he's like, oh my God, the crystal. Like, this is the one I found yesterday. Eliza must be nearby. Like, she must have found it. And so he tries to actually run out of the hut to go catch up with her. But the tribal members will not let him. They grab him.
Oh.
Keeping, like, dragging him back in by his feet.
Scary.
And throw him into a cage in their hut.
What?
So I think we see where this is going now. Eliza and Donnie, thinking that Darwin does not need them anymore, they
don't see that happen?
No, they don't see that happen. They've already like turned around. Like Eliza like throws it behind her, throws the crystal in behind her as they're walking away.
Okay.
And once they're back in the forest, Darwin's like, oh my God, wait, let me go find them. And then tribal members drag him
so
back.
Fucking scary. I'm Darwin.
Terrifying. He's screaming the entire time. Like he's literally like blood curdling screams.
Yes. Makes sense. And like Eliza and Donnie are like, everything is screaming in the rainforest at all times because everything's being murdered. It's just another shriek.
I just realized, can you imagine? So this is kind of a tangent, but Eliza must be actually having a tough time. Because I don't know if she can like turn her powers on everywhere. And off. Like, yeah, there's just constant, like everything is talking to her, everything, like all the time. Because everything is growling and like screaming, all these animals all the time. God. So yeah, she's like, I can't tell Darwin's voice from anyone else.
Right. Everyone's screaming and being murdered right now.
Wow. Sounds like some other animal somewhere out here is being dragged to its imminent death.
Just another day in the life of a 12-year-old.
Come on, Donnie, let's get back. So, Eliza and Donnie, they head back to camp and they decide to just like hang out with Debbie outside, who's just like going through all of this angsty teen shit. She's like read in some magazine recently that being a hipster is in. And so she's like trying to wear darker clothing. She's reading like the poem Howl by Allen Ginsberg, which is like one of the most like philosophical, like deepest, like darkest, like poems ever, whatever. And Nigel and Marianne come out of the combi and tell the girls that it's time for them to get moving so they can capture footage of the Stone Age tribe, inferring obviously that they want the girls to come with them. As this site is something that, you know,
it's pretty special.
Don't want to miss it. But in the real world would be hella dangerous and probably not a good parenting tip. You shouldn't be there in the first place. You should not. Now, from a point of escaping, it maybe is a good tip because you can probably outrun your daughters or
they're always just trying to sacrifice their kids.
They're like, yeah, no, kids, you guys ready to go so that if we get attacked, you guys will be the bait, so that you can see this wonderful, incredible discovery.
Yeah.
And
get on camera.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go.
This is gonna go viral when you get eaten.
I mean, the early days of YouTube, of the World Wide Web. Like,
exactly.
One of the first videos ever, these two girls being sacrificed by
sacrificed. Mauled by a jaguar, one, sacrificed to a tribe, another. Great.
Yeah, cool. So
where's
the family?
Parental services? That's why they're never in America.
They're like, oh God, these kids will be taken from us with a quickness.
They're always on the lam.
Yeah. So the family, they take off for this hike through the jungle to view this tribe and collect some footage for the foundation. And as they're like hiding behind the bushes, Nigel, he's got some binoculars in his hand and he's narrating the events to the camera, noting that these seem to be a peaceful people and they appear to be in preparation for some sort of communal meal. And after some more observation, because you see them building a fire, putting a pot over the fire, everyone's getting excited, circling around. And after some more observation, Nigel adds that it appears that they're carrying an animal in a cage, which again he assumes is their meal. He's it looks like a monkey of some sort, or no, a chimpanzee. And Eliza at this point is excuse me, steals Nigel's binoculars, looks in, and she's like, that's Darwin.
Oh God.
And Nigel's like, oh shit, yeah, that is Darwin.
This is some major ethical questions that this family is about to face.
A lot of ethical. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So at this point, they see Darwin. He's being dangled by his arms over this boiling pot of water or liquids over this fire. And Eliza look, whatever you guys say about not disturbing this tribe, I'm going in there.
I mean,
so if
it was my dogs, I would do the same thing of my children. But there's a lot. There's a lot of things happening.
Ethical questions here. Do you disturb them? Do you not? So Eliza runs over her parents, past the bush, whatever. George of the Jungle style. She climbs up a tree and ropes down from a vine and scoops up Darwin just before the villagers dump him into this hot pot. And Darwin is Darwin's thanking her for saving him, but they just kind of swing right back down towards the village and just crash into everything, knocking over the pot. And all the villagers are whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck is happening?
And so Nigel runs in to the chief and is oh my God, I'm so sorry for crashing your village and for all this destruction, taking away your meal. But he's saying it in broken English because he's assuming that the tribal members don't know what the fuck he's saying. So he's we're so sorry for meal takey, the destroying. And so also Marianne is Filming all of this stuff. She's just yeah, this is great.
She's we are getting the shot, baby.
If we get out of here alive, we are about to win a Nobel Prize.
No, Marianne's when I get out of here alive, Nobel Prize.
I'll find a new family. It's fine.
Again, I mean, what?
Anyway.
Cameron.
So remember that pin that I told you to put in about the Tasade? Perhaps the whole thing was a hoax, whatever. At this point, the chief, he looks at Nigel and he smiles and responds, quote unquote, no sweat, easy come, easy go.
It zooms out from camp. There's Jeeps over there. Someone's watching TV. Oh no.
Nigel is you know English? And the chief is well, sure, yeah, I learned it from my language tapes. And at that very moment, the chief, his cell phone starts ringing. So he whips his cell phone out from his loincloth and answers it. And he's oh, I'm so glad you called. Actually, our dinner plans have just changed. Can you actually pick up some steaks from that spot in Manaus before returning to the village?
So the real mystery in this episode was some white people being racist.
Yes, practically. But wait, the chief then takes Nigel and Marianne into one of the huts where we see Donnie playing a video game.
Nintendo 64 because it's 1998.
Yes. It's with a controller, an Atari controller and everything, this intense video game. And Debbie is next to him looking at a full-on desktop computer where one of the teenage tribal members is showing her a website that he's created. And Debbie's look, he has a website. It's so cool, Mom, right?
Mom, can I get a website?
Jaw dropped, aghast. Marianne is you're online? And the chief responds, sure, who isn't? Come on, get with the 21st century.
Roasted.
Roasted, boom, roasted.
Oh
And kind
my
of
God.
offensively, Marianne's like, sorry, it's just that, I mean, looking at you, I expected you to be a bit more primitive. Because, okay, yes, to be fair, the villagers are in loincloths. They've got like the cultural piercings like through their nose, the jewelry. They have like tribal paintings on their faces. Again, they live in like these okas. They're eating over fire. Okay, I get it, but still, you don't assume things,
Girl.
Marianne.
Also,
especially
like,
when you've been around the world as much as you have.
Yes, and like y'all didn't do any research before this?
Also true. Also true. And so the chief explains that, yeah, like we do indeed like the primitive lifestyle and we've lived this way for centuries, but like buying a couple of CDs and laptops isn't going to change that.
Which, like, true.
You go. Very true. It's like, yeah, we can still preserve our cultural heritage while also checking Facebook if we want to, because exactly. I want to see what's happening in Manaus. I want to order the steaks from Manaus.
Right, exactly.
I want my steaks.
We can merge these two worlds. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Right.
Wow,
and
cool.
Now, at this point, Darwin, he's like back in his clothes and, he's gotten dressed and everything. And he's talking to Eliza and they're looking at this beautiful crystal that he's found. And they decide to play one last game of rock, paper, scissors to decide what to do next. Eliza wins again. And so she's like, all right, time for another adventure. And they go back on a hike through the forest while Nigel, Marianne, and Debbie continue to engage with these villagers. And that's the end of the episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
That had so many
twists and turns.
And turns of every variety. Again, Darwin should have died in this episode in multiple places and did not. In
Nigel
reality,
and Marianne could have died too.
Also, like the original Indigenous person who was like creeping on Nigel and Marianne and stuff was probably like, God, these people are primitive.
Yeah. He's like, they don't
There's
have
not
a
even a
single
laptop
computer.
That comm be damn, they don't got a hotspot going on. We're not going to engage with them.
Yeah. They're eating capybara burgers.
Ugh.
That's weird. Oh, we're eating steaks.
Right. God, disgusting. Do they know what it tastes like?
Yeah, that's a little salty.
We're going to go ahead.
Whatever.
And not say hi to them. This is embarrassing for us as humans.
Yeah.
Wow. So, great job. That one.
Thank you.
Was so, again, unexpected twists and turns in every corner. In every way.
Yeah. And I think that the Thornberrys were just as confused and thrown off guard by all these twists and turns. They thought they were going to be food, but instead they were going to enjoy actual food with this wonderful tribe.
They're hopefully sharing a meal now. Also fascinating that I thought the giant crystal would like come more into play of like significance, or that they would be like, hey, sorry, we stole your meal and also we're kind of racist. Here's a really valuable crystal as like a slight reparation. But they were just like, finders fucking keepers.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
They're like, all right, cool. You got a crystal. Okay. They like open one of the huts. It's like filled with the crystals. They're like, okay, cool. Good for you.
How do you think we afford these laptops? And Wi-Fi in 1998.
Wi-Fi in the middle of the jungle. I'm like, you know how expensive it is to get signal out here?
Exactly. Wow. That was great. Yes. Good job.
Thank you. So anyway, great episode. The stakes are still high, the literal and physical stakes. The stakes from Manaus are high quality, and the stakes of getting eaten were very high quality until Darwin. Because the thing is, like, they were gonna eat him.
Yeah.
They were going to, but they're like, oh, he's like your pet. Never mind. Sorry.
We're like, our bad.
Yeah. We'll get takeout. Sorry about it.
Exactly. Yeah. The Jaguars told us about this great new service called DoorDash. We're going to DoorDash some steaks into town by just calling the delivery guy.
All good.
No problem.
All good. Sorry about that little mix up.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Wow. Incredible. What Wow, what a also like
What
a
a
life learning
commentary.
episode that the Thornberrys is giving us of like make assumptions.
Don't, yeah. And I guess when I first wrote this, I was like, I wonder, or when they first mentioned the Chisade people when I was watching it, I was like, oh, I wonder if the writers know that like maybe that was a hoax. And then I
Oh,
got to
I
the end of the
bet.
episode and I was like, oh wait, yeah, no, I think that's them joking about it possibly being a hoax because these
Well,
people are also not cut off from society.
I think it was the writers doing that one because it was like, 15, 20 years later, but also
Yeah.
because as soon as you were like, oh, Marianne was naming a like tribe in the Philippines, I was like, what? There's like, this has happened in the Amazon. Maybe it was just because maybe it like was more recent that it's happened, but like this is something that happens in the Amazon is that like they are
Yeah.
constantly discovering peoples in
Right.
the Amazon who haven't been contacted. So why wouldn't they just use a local example? But that's
Exactly.
why, is
That's
because the
why.
writers were like,
Exactly. These kids will understand the reference.
these cultured kids will get it. They're all mini anthropologists, anyways. Wow. Those clever
So,
sons of bitches.
yeah, I know.
Awesome.
You gotta love them. So,
What a good
anyway,
show.
yeah, great time. I'm sure next week Grace will be back with another episode of the Thornberrys trying to literally survive in the middle of whatever wilderness they find themselves in. But
Wait,
until, yeah.
sorry. Should we at the end of every episode do like a counter of all the things that should have killed the Thornberrys? Because like in
Yeah,
my
I guess
episode, we kind
we
of
kind of did
did
that
of
last
being
week.
like the
Yeah.
lions and the flood. In this case, it was like the jaguars.
Yes.
Whatever probably had hit him in the eye, Nigel in the eye originally, like the camera could
Yeah.
have given
The
him a
camera.
concussion and killed him.
Exactly. Or like taking his eye out.
Yeah, even if it's
They
not
could
a
have been struck
primitive.
by lightning
Yes,
during
it
that
was.
storm.
Yeah,
They could have
the
received
river could have
terrible
flooded.
food poisoning from the capybara burgers,
Yes,
leading to
the
like
river next to
dysentery.
Darwin could have flooded and rushed him away.
hmm
Um,
So Eliza like stepped, I think both of them stepped on that crystal at one point. Like they could have gotten
infection.
a horrible cut on their foot,
Yes,
infection. Eliza
she
could
was
have
cliff
drowned.
jumping.
She could have hit the cliff, fallen in. No one would have known. She was there for a while between the time that
Yes,
Darwin left and Donnie came back.
right. I mean, her and
Um,
Donnie could have died cliff jumping, could have been
true.
drowned.
Yeah.
Even if it's not
Uh,
a primitive or highly advanced civilization, either way, humans, you're
yes.
coming into their territory, could have murdered you.
Darwin fell from very high up out of a
Yes.
tree, broken back, and then Jaguar comes and finishes you off.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see.
Yep.
Anything
That's
else?
a lot of things.
That's enough.
Yes, that's enough.
and
That's
and there's
too
more.
many
These are
things.
just of the things we saw, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of other stuff in that jungle that is out for
Yes.
blood
Yeah, constantly.
constantly.
Cool.
So,
All right. Yeah, we're gonna do
yeah,
a
that'll be our thing. Yeah.
a almost murdered counter, almost death by
Almost
counter.
dead. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll figure out
A
a name for it.
Thousand Ways to Die in the Wild
With the
Thornberrys.
Thornberrys, yes.
So,
100%. Yes.
so until we continue with this counter next week, Grace, who should the listeners and viewers tell about this podcast?
I think you should tell a Brazilian friend of yours, like someone who's part Brazilian, someone who is Brazilian, and be like, look, okay, they may be offensive in their talk about the capybaras and the cultural, yes, but take it with a grain of salt because it's the first time they learned that people eat them and they're on a journey to learn, but they travel to your country. It's pretty great. Y'all should listen to this podcast.
Yeah. I feel like, didn't we at once notice too that we had some people in Brazil listening or something?
I think so, maybe.
Like one of our, yeah. So if you're listening, like, hey, thank you.
Tell your friends.
And tell your friends. And if you're not, there's a lot of Brazilian immigrants in America.
Right.
Find a friend and tell them.
Yes, exactly. And then who else should they tell?
Okay. After that, you should tell a capybara farmer. You might have to do some translation to either Spanish or Portuguese. to communicate to them, but yeah, it's all them.
Yeah, or go on the dark web
busy
and
around
find
this time of year.
an illegal one.
On the black market. Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
Again,
cool.
We got a lot of demos we're trying to appeal to.
Exactly.
All of Brazil.
We're open to all sort of listeners.
The black market of South America.
Yes. Cool.
Excellent. Great. Well, great job. And we'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.